start recording this session. So this is what I talked about earlier. It's the big elephant in the room. We're having CQI issues. We are aware of that, and I have Amy Wright on the call to field any questions. But this is what we know. We know that the portal is giving a low quality of service. So the users have been experiencing intermittent latency. Robert mentioned before the call started that it's taking his trainers and his students a very long time to access some pages in the portal. We also know we're having student enrollment issues where student data is not appearing for enrollment, so it's causing a huge delay in being able to complete enrollment. And then there are reporting issues. These summary reports aren't visible to trainers, and that's impacting their ability to view historical training information. So, Amy, is there anything else that we need that needed to be clarified on that screen? I mean that slide.
No, everything that you stated is true, and of course we're working on everything. The summary issues we are looking to have resolved this week, as with the registration form, which should ease the student enrollment process, should also be resolved over the weekend. It is moving into the testing phases now, and of course our developers continue to investigate the slowness. We had increased it, and now they're investigating what happened this morning.
Okay. So that goes to the bullet point that we do have dedicated IT resources that are responding to these issues.
Can I jump in for one comment? Yeah. So in our discussion, so we recognized that there were lag or delay issues. And so we talked to the IT guys, and they have, at least my understanding, they had gone through the majority of the issues that they were aware of, where delays were, where the obvious time sinks were, and had put fixes in place. Now, I guess we're still working on a couple of them that are in process. But what they asked for, they said they really need to now, when somebody's having a specific problem in a specific area, they really need to now drill down into the spot. So we're looking for, when you come into these issues, we need to really get in touch with you, say where are you finding the specific slowness, so that we can have him go into the right, or Jeff or Chow to go into the right spots to develop proper enhancements. So I think we'd like to see some more one-on-one, when, especially with the training centers when they're having the problem, so that we can put a little bit of time in to just get the right, put the efforts in the right area. So, thanks, Ayanna.
No problem, Dave. So and that's the second bullet point that Dave was just talking about, these technical meetings. I've been pressed by IT to get these set up. So Amy is working on setting these up for the week of August 7th. And right now we only have two training centers that are going to be participating. One is STI, and Amy is the other one FTech?
Yep, that's the target.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah, Amy, this is Sharon. We'd like to be included.
Okay.
Could you send me an invite or something?
Yes, we'll do.
Yep.
All right. So we have an administrative person that I get to listen to often. Okay.
So Sharon, the goal is to have our developers on that call. So we're trying to do that one-on-one, so we can get to the specific training center or the specific trainer issue. So if you've got your person, it's not going to be all the centers on like a call like this. Our goal is to have our developer with the person who has the problem say, okay, take me to the spot. Let's see what's going on. Right?
Okay, no, that's great. Yeah. Okay, good.
Have I got that right, Amy, Ayanna, for as far as the intent of those?
Perfectly.
Okay.
Yes, you do. And we're sending out emails to everybody with some general questions, so they have an idea of what to come into the meeting prepared to discuss, specific pages, specific issues.
Right.
Are you sending those emails to the administrator of our CQI program here at Black Box?
I can if you want me to. What's her name?
No, I'm just wondering who you sent the emails to. I'm sorry.
Oh, it hasn't been sent to anybody at Black Box, so I can send it to.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't miss it. Good. Okay.
Would that be Dorothy?
Yeah. Yeah, you could send that to Dorothy. I'll let her know it's coming, okay?
Okay. I'll include you on it too.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. All right. And since this is being recorded, it'll be sent out to the rest of the group. If you do want to meet with our technical folks and the developer for CQI, again, it's going to be a one-on-one meeting. Let us know. They are really pressing for more information because these things are just hitting us, and we just need to hear from you what you're experiencing so we can get to the bottom of some of these.
Good.
Some of the other things that we've been doing about CQI is I'm not sure if you've attended these hot topic webinars. Amy does them bi-monthly, and they just have a lot of tips, things that are going on with CQI. We talk about the improvements that are coming on, that are down the pipeline. Please attend the next one. I believe Amy will be delivering it this month or next month. I'm off my bi-monthly months now. But those are really well attended and very good information that she delivers on those. And then we're also doing the monthly newsletter communication. So please pay attention to those. I know you guys read them, but information about CQI improvements, CQI issues will definitely be in our monthly communications. And as you all know, that those big red letters in the CQI portal, those alerts, we're going to continue to put those up there. I know you get sick of seeing them, but we're right now just trying to stabilize the system since our new CRM rollout. And then the CQI improvements. This is where we need your help. One area are those technical meetings that we're going to set up with people. But Dave has tasked me to do a survey, and I'm working on that to deliver very soon. And that survey is going to cover what would make your jobs easier, what would make your staff's jobs easier when it comes to CQI. We need to know. And what are and we're also going to be asking, what are the major complaints? What's wrong with CQI in your opinion? We probably can't do how would you make it better in a survey, but I'll try to get it in there. But the point of the survey is just to talk about CQI improvements from your perspective, because I feel like Amy, she listens to the industry, she listens to you guys and puts things in for improvements, but it would just be helpful if you can have a direct impact on those, because a lot of times it's just fixing something. We really want to know what, beyond fixing something, what would make it easier. So if you had a clean slate, this is what would make our jobs easier. And getting rid of CQI is not technically an option, okay? So be looking for that survey in the next few weeks, in the next couple of weeks. It'll be out in August, and we'll be discussing it definitely at the fall meeting and possibly even before that. All right, any questions about what we're doing about CQI? I just want you guys to know that we are aware and we feel your pain. Trust me, we do. So we just want to make this better. So but just be on the lookout for those invites. We'll be coordinating times of availability with internal staff and you as well. And hopefully those meetings will be very productive. I'm sure they will be. All right, I need a break. So I'm going to turn this over to our certification program manager, Chris, so he can tell you about what program updates are going on.
Okay, so we've got a couple of things on here. Some of them you may have seen previously, like the ESD certification for trainers and operators. This is the program that we have that was developed in a coordination with the, what are they called now? The ESD EOS Association. They used to be called the ESDA. But it is a certification program through our IPC Edge, and the trainers can go on and become a certified ESD trainer. They can then take the content and add company-specific information to it, as well as using the existing information, and then present the course to their CES, certified ESD specialists within their company. So it's a good program. We've heard a lot from the industry that we need this kind of thing, so this is where we went with it and involved the ESD EOS Association.
Hey,
some new and Yep, go ahead.
I want to just talk a little bit about that bullet point in the EMS program bullet point. Um,
Okay.
Something that you're going to see, we did get some really good feedback from the Black Fox when they did an evaluation, and you're going to see in the near future, Dave Hernandez is doing an audit of the ESD program, and we've already done some enhancements to it that bring a lot of value to the trainer when he's delivering the content to the specialist. So be on the lookout for some new webinars to talk about the ESD program and how it's of value to the industry and how we're making it even more of a value to our trainers. And then you did see this bullet point on our last call for the EMS program management training and certification program update. There's been a little delay, and I have to tell you, it's nobody but me in terms of getting that program up and running. Susan Mucha, if you have worked with her before, she's on the EMS committee, and she's actually she'll be working on the updates to this program. And I can tell you that the information that she's provided in terms of what the curriculum is going to look like, this program is much more streamlined because it used to be a week long, 5 days out of the office. And this will be, I want to say, IPC's first blended learning certification program that we're introducing in its entirety. So there's going to be a lot of online components. There will be some face-to-face components, and there will be some assessments that'll be online as well. So it's really a blended, true blended learning opportunity for our students. And I think that you guys will be very, very pleased with the way the curriculum is going to be developed and outlined, and then how the assessments are going to truly test someone's knowledge and skills and ability as an EMS program manager. So be on the lookout for those. Susan is going to. We have one last step with the committee to get it approved, the money part, and then we'll be starting to update that very robust certification program. So that's all I want to say. Chris, I'm sorry. Take it away.
No, no problem. I was just looking at that EMS bullet and thinking, oh, goodness, what am I going to say? So you took care of that for me. So we're all set. But I can get back to the second bullet point there. The IPC 2292 is the Printed Electronics Online Training course. And this is a fairly new and up-and-coming technology that the industry has taken an interest in. And we've published a standard now, the design of printed electronics. And to begin this program, we're going to start with an online session, talking with the committee members and the leadership of the committee. It was decided that there really isn't enough meat to the course yet in order to have a full certification course. So we're going to start with an online session that familiarizes people with the design of printed electronics and some of the considerations there, best practices in the design. And then as the acceptability and the process documents for printed electronics come out, we're looking at kind of incorporating all of them into a printed electronics engineer type program. And we're not completely firm on this, but the concept would be that someone receiving this printed engineering certification would have gone through from design to process design and possible simulation of implementation, inspection, and even testing of the printed electronic assembly. And this is a new and upcoming thing that you're going to be seeing well, you may already see it in clothing, in flexible substrates, in all kinds of new things. So by the time this person comes out of the course, they will have seen the entire process. So instead of just being certified to a specific standard, it will be an overall process. And this kind of goes along the lines with what Dr. Anderson was talking about, that this is geared toward a function, a job, rather than just a single standard. So it's kind of an exciting new thing that we're working on. Chris Jorgensen and I are doing this along with the leadership of that committee. So keep an eye out for those. We're hoping to have at least the first 2292 online course by the end of this year. That'll be through IPC Edge. Then the IPC 640 is another very exciting one. 640 is the we've got the acceptability document and the design document for fiber optics, and not quite as much of a demand in the US as we see overseas. Europe and Asia, this is a huge demand. It's kind of funny, we came up with the fiber optics and now other countries use it more than we do. But what I've done is I've gone out and we're looking at a partnership with the Fiber Optics Association. They are a group that has been in operation for about 20 years. The leaders have been in the fiber optics and the industry for better than 40 years. And it's hard to believe that fiber optics is a 40-year-old product now. But what we're looking at is not just a standard certification. Yes, we will incorporate the acceptability and the design into the program, but this is also intended to be a blended learning where we have a hands-on program, and that's where the training centers would come in. We're working on getting training from the Fiber Optics Association and their experts and bringing their knowledge into our training centers, and our master trainers, and myself included, can learn from this. And then it would be rolled into an IPC blended program where they would take a lot of the theory and the discrimination portion through IPC Edge and then go to the training centers for the actual physical hands-on. As always, the hands-on portion it doesn't lend itself to an online learning. You have to have someone there, you have to have the tools and everything. So that part is definitely sticking with the training centers and the trainers. So some new things coming up there in those two programs. The 001 and the 610 beta, I have, over the last 3 or 4 days, been sending out individual invitations. And as I've had discussion, I think both with Robert and Sharon on this, and from my side, just to vent a little bit here, we've had a little frustration. We sent out an initial invitation to all the MITs and training centers for the EU and the US, and for both the 001 and the 610, and we had very little response back. So we opened it up and sent to the CITs for those programs as well, and we still had almost no response. Our open rates on those were between 15 and 20%, which means that 1 or 2 out of 10 people were opening these emails, let alone actually acting on them. So I've taken 6+ hours out of a couple of days here to send individuals, and I'm getting responses back from people saying, oh yeah, sure, you're sending us 1 week notice. Okay, well, no, we sent 6 to 8 weeks notice, and we're trying, and this is something that I want to put out to everyone that's here and everyone that's hearing this on the recorded line. Remember, this is a recorded session. We need information from you. We need help on this. We send out many emails and communications, and yet we get responses, why did you never tell me about this? And we've talked about it at meetings, and we need to know from you, is there a better way to communicate this? Now, the answers I typically get are things like, well, if it comes directly from you, then me, Chris Robertson, then they open them up and look at them. And I am seeing that to some extent. The problem is sending out the information to 600 people individually takes up most of my days. I've put in nearly 3 days solid getting emails out to individuals, and nothing else is getting done in the meantime. So as you can imagine, that takes up a lot of extra time that should be devoted to other things. So we need to come up with some way to communicate to training centers, to trainers, and to industry that people will actually read. So anyway, that's my little vent on that. But the 001 in Baltimore for the US is next week. The following week is the 001 in Manchester, UK for Europe. The week after that, I'm back in Baltimore for the 001 at NTS in Baltimore. I'm sorry, the 610 at NTS in Baltimore. And then the 610 for Europe will be at ATEC in Limerick, Ireland this year. And we've got some other things coming up after that. So those are happening soon. Yana touched on the EMS program. The IPC Policies and Procedures Revision 6 was activated in June. And I'm hoping that everyone has seen all the communications on that. If you haven't, please check your emails again. You can download the latest, revision 6, from the certification portal, and the updated PowerPoints are also available through the instructor support pages, as they have been for the last couple of revisions. So we're working hard to keep those updates going. And we have some information about the Module 1 and the policy and procedures and some things coming up in the next slide. So just a little teaser there for an upcoming slide. The last bullet point down there says IPC certification audit, and I know the word audit scares people sometimes, but that's not the intent here. We have the audit provision in the policy and procedures and have for a long time, and it's to this point really only been used when we have reports of somebody doing something incorrectly. Then we go in and we audit and in some cases take measures to correct the issues. But what we're trying to do is get more face time with not just the training centers, but with CITs in general. And IPC has, like I said, in the policy and procedures, said that we can come in and audit at any time. And Ayana and I are working on a checklist of things that we would do. Myself, initially, I would go in and sit in on a class. We'd talk to the people at the location, check on the records keeping and all those sort of things, everything that a CIT or an MIT is expected to do. And nothing should be a surprise to anyone. We don't want this to be suddenly show up on your doorstep. But so be open to seeing those emails coming up. And I know everybody that's on this call has no problems. I've talked to all of you, and most of the training centers say, hey, come on out, we're happy to have you. So that's not the issue. We can look at it more of what I call an uptime visit, just to check in with everyone. And also to talk with the individuals and the training centers and really get some face-to-face feedback from you. One of the things we hear is IPC doesn't listen enough. Well, this is one way we're hoping to increase our listening. Okay, I think I've spent enough time on that one. Ayana, if you want to hop to the next slide.
And Chris, yep, hang on.
Yes, go ahead, Sharon.
Did you say anything about the IPC License Center agreement updates? Or?
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. The License Center agreement updates, I skipped that one.
Yes, that's right.
Along with the policy and procedure, what we did was we went through both of the policy and procedures and the License Center agreements, and we kind of clarified things. We moved some things out of the individual license agreement and into the policy and procedure where they made sense. And in some cases, we went the other direction. Some things that were in the policy and procedures that really belonged in the License Center agreements. And specifically for Black Fox, Sharon, the next time you're going to see this is when your next license comes around for renewal. They'll talk to you about that. I think it isn't until next year, so you guys have some time. But as the licenses come around for renewal, these will be introduced. We're not pulling anybody's licenses right now. We're not changing midstream, so you won't see any of the changes until it comes up naturally in the cycle. And so you'll be hearing from the Ed Trackman, and I think is it
Deanna?
Deanna.
Yep.
Deanna is helping out.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, if you want, I mean, we have a lot of these in play, and at this point, and I'm dealing with a lot of questions on this as well as these are going out. So if you wanted to see it early, just let us know. But I mean, nothing's going to happen until your renewal time. We'll just send you a.
Okay. Well, a preliminary that'd be good. You know, just to review, and perhaps as you're answering the other questions, and by the time we ask them, then you already have the answers. Okay.
Yeah.
But for the new policy and procedure update, from a Black Fox standpoint, we're pleased with some of the changes that were basically already, written in the license agreements and taken out of the policy. So, you know, it's
okay, good.
You know, we do it's nicely appreciated. Thanks.
Good. That's good to hear. That was one of the points Ed Trackman was going through, and some things just didn't make sense where they were placed, and so we wanted to make it make sense for everyone involved. and make it at the appropriate location. So that's good to hear. Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, good, you bet.
Okay, go ahead, Yana.
All right. Changes to the IPC CIS certification program. So we want to give you a heads up on some changes that we're going to be making across the board for every certification program. So the CIS certification training is going to have an online module, and we're it's actually IPC Essentials will be phased out, and we'll be replacing Module 1 with these online courses. They're tentatively two separate modules, if you will, that will replace Module 1, and they have to do with IPC background, which is all in IPC Essentials, and also we're going to have an online record training or recording of the policies and procedures portion of the existing Module 1. So you may ask, why are we making this change? And the reason behind this is really a value to the industry and a value to our trainers. We realize the importance of that face-to-face time, and IPC really wants to take more ownership on delivering consistent, valuable information about certification, IPC certification, and IPC standards and its development. So by moving the module 1 to an online module, we're guaranteeing that there's going to be more training time for content discussions rather than dealing with the IPC policies and procedures and standards and things of that nature. So that's something that IPC can actually deliver for you. So it's giving your folks more time with their students. And then we want to, as we heard earlier about this legal defensibility, one of the areas of defensibility that we saw in our certification programs is the inconsistency in content delivery. So by creating a platform that's consistent across the board, it's the same for everyone, regardless of the course certification that you're seeking. We're creating a defensible, we're enhancing the defensibility of our certification programs. And then we really want to build a solid knowledge, foundational knowledge of IPC standards development across the industry. So we want everyone to kind of have the same information. And that's what this proposed change is going to help us to facilitate. So
Yana?
Yes.
Oh, I was just going to jump in on this one, and just from a trainer's perspective, something I can hear going through your minds right now is, how is this going to help us? And from the trainer's perspective, what this does is it takes the IPC specific, the policy and procedures and that information that really is something that IPC ourselves are in charge of. We're the ones that certify, we're the ones that are making these requirements, and yet we're asking the trainers to do all the explaining. We're moving it from the trainer's shoulders back to IPC, and we're saying, this is what the course looks like, this is why we do certification, here are the requirements. And we're moving that portion off of your shoulders and then giving you back that portion of time, instead of spending it answering all the questions about the policy and procedures, why is IPC doing this, that, or the other thing, and those questions. You can actually spend more time on the meat of the course, where you're the experts and you are the subject matter experts that are trainers, that are the students are there to learn this content. And as Ayana said, we also found that there were some CITs especially that either glossed over or didn't cover the policy and procedures. And then we have surprises when a CIS, or in some cases a CIT, says, what do you mean I have to do something like this? You never told me that. And we have to go back and say, well, this was in the policy and procedures and it wasn't covered in their training. So consistency of training and allowing the trainers to concentrate on the meat of the course, the content of the standard, is really behind the majority of this.
Thank you, Chris.
That's a good idea. This module 1, I just have to ask this real quickly. When will this be taken? Is this prior to a CIS attending a class?
Well, Sharon, that's a good question. We're still talking about how.
Oh, okay.
When will the requirement be? When will the CIS have to take the course? Was it before or during? But we know that by the end of the course, they have to have completed this first module. So But we'll be prescribing what that's going to look like in the months to come. But that's a great question.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good question, Sharon, and we've kind of
Yeah.
been debating this some ourselves. I try to when we approach some of these things and look at our and discuss it ourselves. I try to put my center or trainer hat on and say, okay, how would I do it? And I said, okay, well, with some customers and stuff, I'd like them, get it done before you come. And then in other ones, I said, well, they're never going to be able to do that. So, I'll set it up so that they'll have to do it while they're there. Now, I don't want to, and I say, okay, well, that'll be disruptive of my training program. So I say, okay, well, they have to, as Ayana said, they just have to do it before they get their certificate. So theoretically, you could run the course as the course. You could ask them to do it in the evening or when somebody else is at break. Anybody who hasn't taken this needs to take this portion. So, I think there should be flexibility to be handled in a number of ways based on, how your customers, or how your students are, what they have available to them. If it was me, I'd go to the library and take it in advance, but that's just me. If I don't have, access or anything at home, but
Yeah.
I don't think we will come and say that the module 1 has to be done first. It just has to be done. It's one of the modules required for certification, and it needs to be done before issuance of a certificate. So, then it will be up to the users to decide which is most efficient to them.
Well, hey, one more question on that one. Is there going to be an additional cost to that?
Hey, Robert, you were reading our minds. That's the next slide. Yes, there will be an additional, the fee will be rolled into the annual increase of certification programming. So we're still working out what that price is going to look like. But there will be a slight increase to certification. So
one of the questions I know that's going to come up is, does that mean everybody's going to get $95 nailed them? No, absolutely not. I have been bringing that up, and Dave and Ayana and the team are all on board that there's no way we can increase the fee by $95 and remain a certification program. It's just not going to happen. The reality is that there is a slight increase in cost just because of the presentation, and we're working that out and make it as painless as possible. But no, you don't have to budget another $95 for every one of your CISs.
Right, thank you. And the good thing is we're trying to get these announcements out early to prepare you for your budget cycle too. So this won't come as a surprise to anyone, and it won't be a struggle to come up with the additional funds. So we're announcing the pricing. Dave is actually working on that on our behalf, and we should have an announcement out sometime in August.
So the other thing, the difference in this change versus essentials is that this is intended at the time that the cert or recert is done. It's not an in cycle requirement.
Oh, good point. Yes.
So we would intend to roll this out as a change to the program. So when you go in and get your recert, or you go in and get your initial cert, that this would be anticipated. So, and we want to start that communication so that we recognize that companies are going to look at this and say, all right, here's where we what we need to budget. We're also trying to, and at least in my proposal to our internal team, I'm trying to get some kind of additional volume. We used to do, when we had just the certificates, we had more bulk purchasing type of options, and we're trying to build that into this as well.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd have to see all the details of how that's going to be administered. So I guess we'll have questions later.
Definitely, and we're going to we'll definitely have some discussion, Sharon, at our fall meeting. But Dave and his team will be working diligently to provide you as much information as we can even before that. So be on the lookout for newsletter announcements, webinars, and things of that nature in the coming months.
Okay. All right.
All right. Now, I am conscious of time because we're a few minutes over. But again, this is going to be recorded, so if you need to drop off, please feel free. But our next topic that we need to talk about is the CIT non-trainers. And I mentioned that Dave has spearheaded this phenomenon that we're seeing in terms of people getting their CIT certifications, but they're not training. So right now, we've done some statistics, and it looks like about 60% of all CITs are not training, according to our records. So we've sent out 2 surveys. Chris he had these surveys sent out on 2 separate occasions. I think they were a month apart. But the response was negligible. We really didn't get a lot of people to indicate or to give us a feedback, so we couldn't make any determinations from there. So one of the
So I have a question. So Sharon or Robert, does that surprise you? That number?
No.
I mean, I thought it was breathtaking. It doesn't surprise you?
No, it doesn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, not really.
No. So why aren't they? So why would you get a training certificate if you're not going to train?
I lean towards the credential only satisfy customer requirements.
You think that that's it?
Well, that would be the only reason, but that's they need a certified IPC trainer on staff.
So another option for that is and I see this a lot with quality. They just like to have that CIT. They like to brag that up to vendors, to customers, what have you. There's this misnomer out there that there's more information given to trainers than there is to specialists, which obviously isn't true. The standard's the standard.
All right.
So I've been trying to communicate that to a number of my trainers throughout L3, and I see this occasionally as well.
Okay. So,
and another reason, if they get the IPC, certification, okay, but then they'll train their own internal training program, but they still have their credential. I like the next bullet though, with the industry supported new credential for non-trainers.
See, so at least in the discussions, when I looked at it, I was flabbergasted. I should have been looking at this a long time ago. Now you're not as shocked as I am, but when I talk to Chris or to Ayan or Dave and says the trainers, if you're going to be a good trainer, you really ought to be training. I mean, you're only going to stay relevant, current, or on the top of your game if you're actively training. And so to see this kind of thing, I said, they must be using it for a different purpose. And I believe the bragging rights one, that part I understand. But we're trying to, if I have a CIT who's doing a class every other week, and then the one that doesn't do one in 2 years, they're really not the same, at least in my opinion. So we're trying to look at this from a number of angles to say, has the need for our has the need been modified, or are there different segments in our certification program where they need something different? I know that I do know. So in my head, I just was brainstorming with myself. So unfortunately, in my head, certainly a master, certainly a trainer who trains. This idea of a subject matter expert that's a non-training subject matter expert is one that seemed to be a possibility. A full CIS for like an inspector, and then I know that there is especially in Asia Pacific and such, there's, they're just trying to get something as cheap as they can get it, and that's the modular one. So, I almost saw like 5 publics in our program, but I'm certainly interested in any feedback on this particular one, because I find it, 60% seems really, really high.
And as Dave was saying, the big concern is that any one of those 60% CITs could possibly have been holding this CIT for the last 10 to 15 years or more and have never taught a class in their life. They got it because it was required and they have to maintain it. And then with the transiency of our industry, it's entirely possible that that CIT could be laid off from his or her position and then on Friday and on Monday be expected to teach a class. And they haven't taught or opened the standard except once every 2 years. And not only is that a poor representation of the course, but it's bad information for the students, and it reflects on the entire program as well as that person. So we, as Dave said, we're looking at different options here, and those that do train should keep their CIT, but the ones that aren't training, we need to find something else that would be useful to them as well.
Well, and it could change. They can come get their instructor certification or CIT certification, go back to their companies. They have a company of 10 people. They trained everybody in the J standard. They're not going to be recertified for 2 years. Okay. I think you're going to run across all kinds of scenarios why they maybe only train once every couple of years, or.
Well, and those, we did look at those, but this 60% we're talking about are CITs that we have no record of any training ever of an IPC program in our database.
Wow.
And yeah, that's the surprising.
That is very high then, and that's very high. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And I know of instances, at least anecdotally, where they get a CIT, they go back, they use the materials and don't issue a certificate. Or Sharon, as you said, they'll get the CIT and then they go back and present their own. Now, if they're presenting their own materials, that's fine. We don't have anything to say about that. If they're using the IPC materials, well, then we have an issue with that, and we have to address that as well. But the ones that just plain aren't training at all is the biggest concern.
I don't know. Putting a third level of certification in these programs is, I can't even imagine. Okay. The sort of the new policies and procedures you do have that, if they haven't taught at least one class in the last year or they have expired, then basically, and we do have now CITs, we're telling, you're going to have to attend the class again, okay?
Right.
Because you're not going to, you're not going to be able to. So they choose. We can't make them, but we're staying within policy. And I think that was a huge step to motivating CITs to actually train a class.
Definitely.
I think so as well. I think we're seeing an uptick some, but we've got most of them. And the other issue is, as well as I, you can ask someone, are you training? And they can say, yes, I am. And at this point, you have no way to prove that. And that's another item that Dave and I were talking about this morning, about how IPC can take on that responsibility and make it easy for the training centers to remain in policy. We want to make it as painless as possible for you to stay within the policies. And I know for a fact, I've heard you do it, Sharon, when I was there. You ask, are you training? And that's fine. You're doing exactly what you should. So we just have to come up with a way to make it enforceable from IPC's side as well.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And you'll hear more about this topic perhaps at the fall meeting with a larger group discussion as well.
Oh, yeah, I think I'm going to go to the fall meeting. Okay.
You have to come to the fall meeting.
You're going to get me there, okay?
Yes, it's going to be work.
No.
We're going to have some good
work
that needs to be done. So
Okay.
Thank you. Gracias. Merci beaucoup. Nani, I don't know what language that is. So much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. And I will be sending out this recording to everyone. And please be on the lookout for Chris sending updates for the agenda for the fall meeting. Because as you can tell, we have a lot to do and a lot to talk about. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.